Okay, let's try this again. Now I have my glasses on and now I can read my cheat sheet. What I wanted to go over with you on all this. Okay. I know I wanted to let you know, or we've probably talked about this before, but I just wanted to restate it, that I put this routine together over the course of my entire active life since I started running in my late teens. And after some chronic back pain and knee pain, I went and I visited an acupuncturist. This was probably when I was in my early 30s. And when I learned about all that energy that goes through your body and how you how the body processes that and how it helps you balance and keeps the blood flow going straight to all the areas that actually don't have a direct blood flow, like say your muscles. And specifically what I'm talking about is tendons and ligaments. The acupuncturist talked a lot about that, how most of the times in most of stretching exercises pretty much ignore tendons and ligaments, and that's what we want to focus on. That's what I've always, ever since I actually talked to the acupuncturist all those years ago, over 20 whatever years ago now, 24, that if you can increase the blood flow through certain stretches and all that, you're going to minimize the amount of you're going to minimize your injuries, and also too that if you do get injured, that you actually heal a lot better. So I wanted to go over that, and that's pretty much where I focus, what the focus is with what I call this, I'm calling my Ghetto Yoga, because it's ghetto, because all you need is a chair or a leg of a piece of furniture in the wall and the floor, and that's all. And it should be really easy. It could be painful in the beginning, but if you take it easy, and I'll show you ways to do that, it should really help you out. Some of the stretches maybe you already are very familiar with, but I can tell you for sure that the ones that are familiar, I've seen them done very incorrectly, and I've seen them modified so that it actually can injure you more, in particular your lower back. And I wanted to reiterate that. So it may kind of look boring or whatever, but I'm going to hopefully do it in a way that maybe you never did before. Oh, what else here? I also wanted to suggest too that if you do this routine, it takes about 20 minutes, and that's when you got it all down and you're not like going really, really slow trying to get your body used to it. So if you by then, when you get all acclimated to it, it should take only about 20 minutes. But what I really want to suggest is that you do it every day, and every day maybe for the rest of your life or close to it, and every day, or at least, and also too, before you do any other kinds of workouts that you do, including your Pilates, including just riding a bike, because this is really going to help. I think you might have suggested that sometimes you have back pain when you're riding your bike, and this should help that flexibility quite a bit. What else on here? Okay, I think that's it. That's it on that part. Okay, so I mentioned that this whole routine is mostly focusing. I mean, your muscles are going to stretch, but you're also, the benefit of it is that you want to stretch the tendons and ligaments, because those are the foundations right next to the bones. And if you're just focused on muscle, or in your thought process and your focus is just muscle, then you're not going to really even, your body, your mental capacity is not even going to be focused on tendons and ligaments. And most professionals will tell you that if you tear a tendon or you tear a ligament, that does not have any direct blood flow, so it takes a lot more to heal. So if you're doing these particular exercises that are specifically for tendons and ligaments, then you're always going to be having that flow through your whole body, both sides, making it very even and very balanced. So, let's see there. All right, so the other part that I wanted to focus on actually too, because we're going to spend a lot of time in the pelvic area, because that's where your that's where the human center of gravity is in the pelvis. So a lot of people think more about the spine, that gives you your structure, but actually it's your pelvic girdle that is the center of gravity. So everything that goes out from that, and actually your spine is attached to your pelvis down in your lower back. So your pelvis is giving the whole body a tremendous amount of stability. So in that thought, tendons, your biggest tendons and ligaments are going to be found in that area where your legs are attached to your pelvis from the lower side, and where your thoracic area, this is your mid area, is going to be attached from the top. So we're going to have a lot of work that's going to be going on in those tendons and ligaments around your pelvic area, and then from that we'll move out to your to our legs, to our upper legs, and then even along the knee, and then down into your feet, and even actually the structures, the tendons and the ligaments that are dealing with your ankle and the top of the foot. Because once those are all stretched out, you know, it gives you a tremendous amount of flexibility, and you'll start to notice that you actually walk a lot more fluidly. So because if your ankles are tight, if those tendons and ligaments are tight, you're not going to have that fluid motion, and then it's all going to work its way upward. And conversely, when everything is tight in your pelvis area, then you're not going to have that flow in that center of gravity where all your balance is, which is in your pelvis. You're going to start having issues there, which you already have, and that I've had in the past myself. Let me see what other notes of here. That one. So just as another afterthought, there is, when I'm talking about the pelvic area, a lot of people will say, well, your lower back, it's very, I don't know, it takes a beating basically in our lives, and it's no coincidence that, because if you're not focused in stretching those tendons and ligaments that attach your extremities to that area, then you're going to create this incredible cementing effect, non-flexibility, and so thus creating a lot more stress on the lower back because you cannot move fluidly. So it's no coincidence really that if you're not focusing in stretching that area of the tendons and ligaments, just not focused on your lower back, then you're going to have problems anyway, irregardless. Oh yeah, the one other point I wanted to make too is, so if you're not focused on stretching tendons and ligaments rather than just muscle, if you're not, let's see, one thing that I found, and I don't know if you have, but millions of people have, and I think there's probably a statistic on it or something, somebody's probably studied it, where actually some people are born with one leg longer than the other, and it can only be, it can only sometimes just be a quarter of an inch, but and that's what my issue is, and that's where I developed a lot of sciatica and lower back stiffness, was because my acupuncturist actually discovered that I had one leg longer than the other. So he explained to me, as your femur moves into your hip like this, and if you have one leg longer than the other, then it's always going to torque your hip. It's always going to torque your pelvis. So you're always going to be chronically, as we get older, when we're younger we don't notice it, but as you get older you really start to notice it. So a lot of these stretches actually help you align if you have a pelvis, if you have one leg longer than the other. And you can always tell, actually, and then a workman's comp doctor, because my back got strained when I was working as a medic like 8 or 9 years ago. He actually showed me a way that that if you put, you can put a little bit of a lift in your shoe, or, all this other kind of stuff. But he actually said that, he actually kind of reconfirmed, what he said was that you can tell anybody on the street, or how they're standing, if they stand like with one leg further in front than the other, if they tend to do that, or have one toe pointed out as they stand with that leg further out. That's a very good indication that that particular lower limb is longer than the other. So I've noticed that, ever since he told me that, I've noticed that on a lot of people, and I've even curiously asked them if they ever have, or if the issue of back problems come up, if they had back issues, and I try to educate people on that if you're having some lower back problems, it can also be, rather than just by an injury or what have you, it could also be due to having one leg longer than the other. So nothing traumatic, just something chronic. Okay, so the last things I wanted to talk about, if you could, it's real important, and it's best that the routine be done once a day, every day. The routine includes like 12 to 14 stretches. I don't remember, I forget what the exact number is. And again, it takes about 20 minutes. And if you could do them in the order that I demonstrate them, because that'll be important. Because we work from the pelvis outward, or not from the pelvis outward because necessarily, but there's another one right at the beginning that's just for your feet. But then we start with that little particular foot one, and then at the end we also end with a different foot stretch as well. It's best to do the best that you can do. I'll give you some pointers on how you can increase or decrease the intensity of the stretch. But if you could please try to do, at least get into the position, because we're trying to develop some muscle memory, body memory for you, so that your body actually will start to mold to that thought process, because you've gone all these years without really focusing on tendons and ligaments, stretching them, so it's been a stiff process. So it's going to take some time to be able to limber that up. And if you could just get in the position and maybe just go through the particular motion, because we don't want to hurt you any more than you're feeling now, we can go from there and then just build on that. And then as you do the stretches, it's best not to hold your breath, because as you stretch, especially the muscle, because you will stretch muscle, we release that lactic acid. We also release free radical hydrogen ions, which are negative for our body. They're not really good to be having those floating around. And the best way to help that be eliminated from your body is to breathe. We can blow some of that stuff off, and not just wait until our body excretes it in other ways like sweat or what have you. So I want you to really be conscious about breathing. If you're feeling pain or discomfort, just breathe it through, kind of like giving birth to a baby. And I think I'm out of battery.